Hello, everyone. There is a moment, and Leo, you know this moment well where everything goes quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet. The kind that sits heavy on your chest at 2 in the morning when your mind won't stop running and you're lying there staring at the ceiling wondering how you got here. Wondering why the person you gave everything to hasn't said a word. Wondering why the job hasn't called back. Wondering why, despite everything you've done, everything you've sacrificed, everything you've tried to hold together with bare hands and sheer willpower, it still feels like you're standing outside in the cold, looking through a window at a life that was supposed to be yours. I need you to hear me right now, because what I'm about to share with you is not just a reading. This is a transmission. This is something that has been building for weeks, maybe months, and it is arriving for you today because the universe decided that today is the day you stop waiting in silence and start understanding what is actually happening behind the scenes of your life. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a woman. Let's call her Diana. Diana is a Leo. Fierce, loyal, creative, and deeply, deeply feeling, even if she doesn't always show it. Diana spent 8 months in what felt like a dead-end position at a company she'd outgrown. She was showing up every single day, doing the work of 3 people, coming home exhausted, and going to sleep feeling invisible. Meanwhile, someone she used to love, someone she thought was her forever person, had gone cold, stopped calling, started leaving her messages on read. And Diana, being the Leo she was, held her head high in public and fell apart in private. Sound familiar? Because I'm not just talking about Diana. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about the version of you that has been holding it together so beautifully on the outside while quietly, privately asking the universe, when does something finally go right? When does someone finally choose me? When does the effort I've been pouring into my work, my relationships, my life, when does any of it actually pay off? Here is what I need you to understand before we go any further. The silence you've been living in, the silence from that person, the silence from opportunity, the silence that has made you question your worth, that silence was never a rejection. It was a preparation. And the call that is coming toward you right now, the shift that is already in motion, is not small. It is not a consolation prize. It is not a maybe, or a could be, or a will see. What is coming for Leo in this period is the kind of thing that makes people stop in the middle of their day and put their hand over their heart and whisper, I can't believe this is real. And you are going to experience that. But first, I need to walk you through what has actually been happening, because the story of what's coming only makes sense when you understand the story of what has been. For a long time, Leo, you have been in a cycle of giving more than you receive. You give your energy, your ideas, your love, your time, and somehow you always end up feeling like the one who gave too much and got too little. You've watched people with less talent, less dedication, less heart walk into rooms and get the recognition you deserved. You've been passed over. You've been underestimated. You've had people in your life who saw your light and, instead of celebrating it, tried to dim it, sometimes out of their own insecurity, sometimes out of something that looked like love but felt like control. And through all of it, you kept going. That is your nature. Leo is not built to quit. But there's a difference between perseverance and prolonged suffering. And somewhere along the way, you started confusing the two. You started thinking that struggling meant you were strong, that being in pain silently meant you were dignified, that waiting without complaining meant you were patient. But what it actually meant, and this is what I need you to hear, is that you were ready. You were being readied, not punished, readied. Think about this. A diamond doesn't become a diamond without pressure. And I know that sounds like the kind of thing that gets printed on motivational posters and feels meaningless when you're actually in the middle of it. But Leo, think about the specific pressure you have been under. Think about the specific ways life has pushed you, cornered you, forced you to dig deeper than you thought you could go. Think about the moments where you almost gave up and didn't. Those moments were not wasted. They were deposited. And what is coming now is the withdrawal, the return, the harvest of everything you planted in the dark when nobody was watching, when nobody was clapping, when you weren't even sure yourself that anything was growing. Let me come back to Diana for a moment, because her story doesn't end where I left it. 3 weeks after Diana had fully accepted that the job was going nowhere and the person she loved had chosen distance over her, she got 2 calls in the same week. The first was from a company she had applied to 8 months earlier and genuinely forgotten about, offering her a role that paid 40% more than what she was making in a field she actually cared about. The second call was from him, the one who'd gone quiet, and he didn't call to chat. He called because something had happened in his life, something that cracked him open, and the only person he could think of, the only person who felt like home, was her. Now, I'm not telling you Diana's story to make promises about your specific situation. I'm telling you because Diana almost didn't answer either call. Because after months of silence, she had built walls. She had started making peace with a version of her life that didn't include those things. And what I'm here to tell you, Leo, is don't build those walls. Not right now, because the calls are coming, and you need to be open enough to answer them. The energy surrounding you in this period is genuinely unlike anything you've moved through in a long time. There is a momentum gathering around your name, your life, your circumstances that you cannot yet fully see because you are standing too close to it. It's like standing at the base of a mountain and not being able to see its peak. But from where I'm standing, I can see the whole thing, and what I see is enormous. What I see is the kind of shift that doesn't just change one area of your life, it changes the entire landscape. Career, love, money, self-worth, all of it is being repositioned, all of it is being upgraded, and the entry point, the doorway through which all of this begins to arrive, is a conversation, a real one, something said out loud that has been felt in silence for far too long. Now I want to talk about the person, because for most of you watching this, there is a person. There is someone specific whose name lives in a quiet corner of your mind regardless of how much you've tried to move it somewhere else. Maybe you've had conversations with friends where you said I'm over it and meant it in the moment. Maybe you've gone weeks, even months, without reaching out and felt genuinely fine until something small happens. A song, a smell, a place you used to go together. And suddenly they're right there again, as vivid as ever. And you don't know whether to feel angry at yourself for still caring or relieved that the feeling is still alive, because somewhere deep down caring about them feels like caring about a version of yourself that was truly happy. I see you. I see all of it. And what I need to tell you about this person is going to require you to set aside whatever story you've been telling yourself about them, whether that story is they don't care or they moved on or I was never really that important to them, because the truth is more complicated. And the truth, Leo, is actually more in your favor than you know. This person, the one you've been trying not to think about, has been going through their own reckoning. And unlike you, they don't have your strength. They don't have your ability to feel something enormous and still show up to life. They've been retreating. They've been going quiet not because the feelings disappeared, but because the feelings became too loud to manage. There's a particular kind of person who shuts down when they feel too much, not because they're cold, but because they were never taught how to hold something that big without flinching. And this person, the one connected to you, has been holding something enormous. They've been holding the weight of what they walked away from, or what they let drift, or what they never said clearly enough when they had the chance. And that weight doesn't get lighter with time. It gets heavier. until it becomes impossible to carry any further without putting it down, which means without going back to the source, without going back to you. Let me give you another real-world example, because I want this to feel grounded, not abstract. There's a man, let's call him Marcus. Marcus met someone extraordinary 2 years ago. They had the kind of connection that made him feel like he was finally understood, finally seen, finally in the presence of someone who didn't need him to perform or pretend. But Marcus had a habit, a deeply ingrained one, of pulling away exactly when things got real. It's what he'd always done. It's what felt safe. So when things between him and the woman he loved started to grow into something genuinely serious, something permanent feeling, he panicked. He created distance. He told himself she probably didn't feel as strongly as he did. He convinced himself it was easier this way. And for a while on the surface it was. He kept busy. He worked more. He told himself he was fine. But 18 months later, Marcus found himself at a crossroads in his professional life, facing a decision that forced him to look at every single thing he'd let go of in the name of playing it safe. And the face that kept appearing in that reflection wasn't a colleague or a friend or a family member. It was hers. And he realized something that he hadn't allowed himself to realize before, that walking away from her was the biggest mistake of his life. Not the second biggest, the biggest. And he picked up the phone. Leo, you are on the receiving end of that realization for someone. Right now, in this very moment of your life, someone is sitting with the weight of what they didn't say, didn't do, didn't choose, and they are building toward you. The silence you've been interpreting as absence is actually the sound of someone gathering the courage to come back. And when they do, because they will, the conversation is going to be one you were not fully expecting. It will be more honest than anything they've said to you before. It will be more vulnerable. It will be the version of them that you always sensed existed underneath the surface, the version they kept protected, and it will show up in your life and ask you gently but clearly for another chance. Now, I want to be fair to you, Leo, because I know you are not just sitting around waiting for someone to come back and fix your life. You are a full person with ambitions and dreams and a sense of self that does not begin and end with any relationship. So let me talk about what is happening in your professional and financial world right now, because this is equally important, maybe more immediately important, and it is extraordinary. The opportunities that are beginning to materialize around you in this season are not random. They are directly connected to the work you have been doing quietly, the skills you've been developing, the reputation you've been building, even when you felt like nobody was noticing. Someone has been noticing. Multiple people, actually. And the conversations those people have been having about you, about your abilities, about what you could do with more resources and more room are about to come out of the background and into your direct experience. Think about a woman named Sophia. Sophia had been freelancing in her field for almost 3 years, scraping together enough to get by, saying yes to projects she didn't love because she needed the income, dreaming about the kind of work she actually wanted to do, but not seeing a clear path to it. She'd sent pitches that went unanswered. She'd had meetings that led nowhere. She'd started to wonder if maybe the version of success she imagined for herself was just that imagined. And then one Tuesday morning, not a special day, not a day anything was supposed to happen, she got an email from someone who had seen her work through a mutual contact, someone she'd never met, offering her a collaboration that would triple her monthly income and put her name in front of an audience 10 times larger than the one she'd been building. She almost deleted the email because she thought it was too good to be true. She almost let her own disbelief block the door that the universe had just opened. Don't be that person, Leo. When the email comes, and it is coming, read it twice before you decide it's impossible. The financial shift that is approaching you has a very specific flavor. It doesn't look like a windfall from nowhere. It looks like recognition. It looks like someone finally paying you what you're actually worth. It looks like an opportunity that arrives through a connection you already have. Someone in your network, someone who has watched you work, someone who has been impressed and has been waiting for the right moment to bring you into something bigger. And that moment is now. That moment is this season. The door is not just cracking open, it is swinging. And you might cry. That's okay. Actually, it's more than okay, it's necessary. Because the tears that come with this moment are not the tears of sadness you've been carrying. They are release tears. They are the tears that come when something you stopped hoping for actually shows up. They are the tears of a person who held on when every logical reason said let go, and is now being shown, not told, but shown that the holding on meant something. That they were right to believe. That they were right to stay soft when the world kept telling them to harden up. Those are the most beautiful tears a person can cry, and they are yours. Let me talk about what life looks like on the other side of this moment, because I want you to have a clear picture of what you are moving toward. I want it to feel real in your body, not just in your mind. Because Leo, you have spent so much time in the struggle that you may have forgotten what it feels like to simply be in your abundance. To wake up in the morning and feel settled. To look at your phone and not dread what you'll find or won't find. To sit in a place of financial ease where the numbers in your account reflect the energy you've been putting out. To be in a relationship, whether it's the one returning or a new one arriving, where you feel chosen, genuinely, actively, consistently chosen, not tolerated, not an option, chosen. There is a man I want to tell you about. Let's call him James. James is a Leo in his late 30s who spent the better part of 2 years in what he described as the longest dry spell of his life. Nothing was moving. His business had plateaued. His personal life felt stagnant. He'd started to make a kind of grim peace with the idea that maybe this was just what his life was now, manageable, functional, but not alive. And then, over the course of about 6 weeks, everything changed. A client referral led to the biggest contract of his career. An old friend reached out and connected him with an investor who believed in what he was building. And a woman he had never stopped thinking about, someone he thought was completely gone from his life, came back in a way that was so genuine, so changed, so clear about what she wanted, that James said it felt like waking up from a dream he hadn't realized he was in. 6 weeks, Leo. 6 weeks from the bottom of the plateau to a completely different life. And it started with a conversation. One honest, unexpected, life-altering conversation. You are at the beginning of your 6 weeks. You are at the threshold of your conversation. Everything that has been building the pressure, the patience, the silent waiting, the holding on, is about to convert, and I need you to be ready. Not in the sense of preparing a speech or rehearsing what you'll say. Ready in the sense of being open. Ready in the sense of not shutting the door because you're afraid of being hurt again. Ready in the sense of trusting that your instincts, those powerful, accurate, deeply Leo instincts, are still working. They never stopped working. They've been guiding you this entire time, even when you felt most lost. There is also something I want to say to you about the version of yourself that is emerging from this period. Because this isn't just about what's coming to you from the outside, a person, an opportunity, a financial shift. It's about who you are becoming through all of this. The Leo that walks out of this season is not the same Leo that walked in. You have been refined. You have developed a kind of emotional intelligence and inner strength that most people spend decades trying to cultivate. You have learned through actual lived experience rather than theory, the difference between what you settle for and what you deserve. And that knowledge, that bone deep, earned knowledge, is going to serve you for the rest of your life. Every relationship you enter from here will benefit from it. Every professional decision you make will be sharper because of it. Every time you look at your life going forward, you will be able to point to this season and say, that is where I grew into the person I was always meant to be. I want to leave you with one final image. Imagine yourself 6 months from now, not in a wishful, disconnected way. Really imagine it with sensory detail. You're in a space that feels like yours. Maybe it's a new home or a redesigned version of your current one. Maybe it's an office where you're doing work that actually lights you up. You're not rushing. You're not anxious. You're not checking your phone every 5 minutes waiting for something that never comes. Because what you were waiting for, the call, the opportunity, the recognition, the love, it came, and you answered it. And now you are simply living, fully, deeply, presently living. The financial pressure that has been sitting on your shoulders has lifted. The relationship that once felt uncertain and painful has either transformed into something stable and beautiful or been replaced by something so right, it almost makes you laugh at how different it feels from what you were holding on to before. You laugh more. You sleep better. You wake up with purpose. And when you think about this moment, this reading, this day, you will remember it as the day you decided to believe. Not blindly, not naively, but with the earned confidence of someone who has been through the fire and knows finally exactly what they are made of. Leo, the call is coming. The shift is real. The love, whether it's returning, transforming, or arriving brand new, is genuine. The money and opportunity that are moving toward you are not accidents. They are the result of everything you have been and everything you have endured, and you deserve every single bit of what is on its way. If this message landed in your heart today, type "I claim it" in the comments right now. Claim every blessing, every breakthrough, every call that is coming your way. And tell me, what is the one thing you are most ready to receive in this new chapter of your life? Love, money, opportunity, or peace? Let me know in the comments because I read every single one. And if you are not subscribed yet, this is your sign. Hit that subscribe button and join this community because we are just getting started.